Hello, beautiful water signs. Welcome to Team Joanna. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you stay. I hope you like what you hear. And for those of you, of course, who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. This is why I do this. So before I move on with the June energies, and there are some big kick-ass energies. If you've listened to any of the other elements, I've talked about that, and also in my latest weekly pulse that was done at the beginning of June. There is some pretty striking energy that is bestowing us with its presence, if you will. But before I go there, a couple of things. One thing that I am excitedly excited about is a project that I am working on with two other individuals. And if you are on our private Facebook page, you will know them as Callan and Wendy. And by the way, if you want to be part of our private Facebook page, that link is down below. So anyway, Callan and I and Wendy have created a platform, and this platform will be used to give you information, to share information with you, anything and everything that has to do with empowerment and self-awareness. And we call this space Higher Consciousness Academy. So we are right smack in the middle of implementing certain things and creating content. And if you would like to be kept abreast in terms of what's coming up, when it's coming up, or just want to be in the know of what's happening with Higher Consciousness Academy, click on the link below and you'll be taken to a site, I guess, where you will do the, I guess, subscribe thing. So if you're interested in that, please do so. Is there something else? Oh yes, I already talked about the Facebook page. So that all aside, and of course, if you would like to have a private session with me, whether healing or one that's more talking, that information is down below, and I would be absolutely honored, especially during these, let's just say, interesting times. All right, so the month of June feels to be a very interesting month, and I've talked about this in all the other signs. And there is something very transformative about June energies. Now, I do know little astrology, and we have eclipse or lunar eclipse coming up at the beginning of June, 5th, I believe, or 6th. And from what I understand from my channeling is this time, in this space and time, can help us almost like speed up certain things if we put our effort and attention to. So in terms of the bigger energy, if you look at the world, we have an opportunity to create something of profound value in a relatively short period of time. So this energy is very expressive, and it's very potent. Anything that we put our effort and focus and attention to is where this energy will be directed. So we are in this energy. We can't escape it. It's almost like once you understand the potency of this energy and you use it as a tool, it has the potential to drastically, in some cases, change and shift your perspective, which ultimately changes how you live your life. And when I tuned into this, to the water energy, the very first thing I saw was moving on. But the moving on wasn't so much physical. Yes, some of you will move on from jobs, relationships. That happens all the time. Although may happen over the next little while, over the next, I would say, from now to the end of the year. Though that may happen, this is really not what I mean. What I mean is moving on from belief systems and moving on from a certain way we are emotionally attached. And I don't know about you, but I have worked with letting go of old beliefs, and those aren't particularly fun or exciting for various reasons. One primary one, it's hard work, and it's sometimes less than exciting, like I said, and it's change. And we don't humans like predictability. That's where our stability is. So month of June, I feel very strongly, will benefit those of you who are consciously choosing to affect change in your life. What does that mean? It means you are being more of a creative artist, more of a creator, more of a conscious creator. Thank you. And June is kind of halfway in the middle of a year, and the first 6 months were, well, you know what they were, and continue to be quite interesting. And I feel the next 6 months of the year is about, what do we do with the information that we have been experiencing over the last 2, 3, 4 months or so? What do we do with all this information? It's like we have a bank of information right now that we have gathered over the last 3, 4, 5 months, where the whole world kind of shook itself. And now how are we going to implement these going forward? And we can choose to do nothing, or we can choose to do something. And if you choose to do something about it in your personal life, then relative to how much focus and attention you put into your intention, you can be pretty sure that eventually whatever you are intending for or on is bound to show up in your life as a physical evidence or physical manifestation. Example, let's say you are someone who is looking to be with a partner, and for the last however long, it just has not been going that way. And you've been working on yourself and working on relationships, and still the same thing. But in the month of June, you decide for yourself, you tell yourself, in the month of June, what I'm going to focus on is me. I'm not going to focus on other people. I am going to focus on me, particularly if you are focused on fixing other people or doing other things for other people. Make it a month of all about you. And examine your belief systems very carefully. And to examine is to look within. So don't be afraid in the month of June to look within. Sometimes we are scared to look within because of what we are going to find, right? But as long as we are scared of something that's inside us, it's going to be a fear. And the moving on energy is very much about moving on from fear-based thinking. And that includes your perceptions, your thoughts, how you communicate with yourself, what words you use, how to articulate, how to speak to yourself, the relationship you have with you, and all of the above. So, great opportunity to almost, here's the vision. I'm seeing a map, a map of you, a human outline. And inside of you, you have all these dots, and each dot represents something about you that you are in the possession of, but you would rather not have. And on the outside, you have a whole bunch of dots that are what you would like to have or be, but it's not in you yet. And you can pause and rewind just to kind of hear what I'm saying, because the exercise is intended to help you get a visual on the things you're trying to get rid of and the things you're wanting to bring in. Because once we have a visual, it's the focus. It's like you can see, if we can see something solid, the mind has a tendency to follow it. And if you do choose to do this exercise, look at what's outside of this physical outline and what is inside the body. And then the next thing you do is imagine the reverse. Everything that was on the outside that you wanted is now inside of you. And everything that you wanted to get rid of that was once outside of you is now outside of you. And then I want you to tune into it. And they're saying here that if you choose to do this exercise, it'll activate certain qualities within you energetically. And that activation is like a domino effect. It's going to start to grow. So by doing this exercise, you are effectively planting a seed. You are introducing something into you, another possibility, and by creating it in your mind, you're living through it. You are feeling it. And they're telling me that is going to activate almost like this receiving muscle. Very interesting. I was never given an exercise to give on these videos. So for those of you who are interested, try it out and see how it works. There is no such thing as trying to do it in a perfect way. It just doesn't exist. Whatever you can do with this exercise, wherever you can manage, I feel it would really benefit you. So let me go through some of the cards. By the way, I am using a brand new deck. If you've seen any of the other videos, I think I talked about it. It is called Sacred Spirit Reading Cards by Anna Stark. So I use this deck to give me the first kind of like what's going on, what's the universe wants to, what does the universe want to present to us if you're a water sign. I love these cards. They spoke to me right away, and it's just like it's like glue. All right, so what energies are we working through in the month of June? And keep in mind, when I say June, it's gonna go past June. As far as I'm concerned, it's from now until the end of the year. We have a card called Soul Fragments, and it says balance will be restored. But it did show up in this position, so it's showing up in the shadow position. What this is, what this means, in order for me to tell you what this means, is that we are examining beliefs that keep us or prevent us from fully being ourselves, or from being ourselves more fully. And because of this eclipse, because of all the different astrological components and how we're being impacted, and apparently whatever's happening in astrology right now, it's very rare. So there are definitely supportive energies of this change. But think about this. Let's say in the next few weeks or couple of months, you begin to have this inner realization, like an aha moment, where you go, oh my God, it is me that's holding myself back. And even though you know it, you've known it for a while, you've read about it, you've heard me talking about it many times, this time it's different. This time it's no longer just a knowing, it's a feeling. It like clicks in. In other words, you embody it. What happens is when you embody it, it's you literally shift your consciousness, your vibration shifts. So it feels like the next little while, you will have sometimes plenty of opportunities to experience moments like this. And I hear each time you have that moment, it's like you're being initiated or activated. So every aha moment activates something more, some other aspect of you that hasn't been activated. When I say activated, is actively being expressed, whether just as a consciousness or into physical reality. So that's a big ass energy, pardon my swearing. And it's exciting, but it also tells me, because the energy is very precise, I called it almost like a scalpel, where it can do a lot of damage or a lot of good, depending on where the focus is and where we focus the energy, what the intention is, right? And what is the Yeah, is there a focus on an intention? So in the month of June, you better know where your mind goes, because if you are constantly preoccupied with worries about money, chances are you will manifest more worries. You may not necessarily manifest less money, but you will have more money and you will still have worries, right? So that is not to say that if you are financially struggling right now that you're going to say, oh, no big deal, I'm just going to put it on the shelf. Of course not. I would never ask you to do that. That would be arrogant and ignorant of me, because it's a real problem. And but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you to consider for a moment that outside of this current reality, let's talk about finances, there is another reality available to you. And you may not live that reality right now, but does not mean that that other reality cannot be real. In other words, try and shift your focus from being afraid of not having money to shifting and feeling what it's like not to be afraid of having money. Because fear around money is sometimes you fear money, because money represents something to you. And if money represents scarcity, then of course you're going to fear scarcity. It's a deep dive. The point I'm trying to make before I get completely fly away, is this is a really monumental time to break some old rules. Rules that no longer serve you, rules that no longer apply to you, rules that quite frankly, you're not interested in following. And because you are an individual free for the most part, you're choosing to no longer follow other people's perceptions or other people's ideas. So for many of you, this is, relatively speaking, this is about you shifting your ego self, how you see you, and therefore how you see life and what you create. This is not a small thing. This is not a small thing. So, the childlike expression card basically says, you know, the person you once were, the one where all you needed was feeling love, being fed, feeling safe, and you were just happy to be and express. There's a lot of innocence with that. And by the time I think we're 7 or 8, maybe that's early, maybe a little bit later, somewhere in our early teenagers, I would say, we lose that innocence. Some lose it very, 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 very early, unfortunately. So generally, we start to lose this innocence once we start to experience some pain, some level of pain. That's what I'm being asked to say, but it makes sense to me. So what we're talking about is when we look at our outdated beliefs and the things that keep us down or prevent us from being more, we are looking at symptoms of some unresolved pain. And we all have that. It's kind of the condition you're here to release yourself from. And what I'm getting here, there's a whole bunch of feeling of unworthy. So there's a lot of unworthiness energy coming up to the surface. Now, if you look at what's happening and the idea of worth and value and different people being treated in different way and other people representing themselves in certain way, like all of that is it's all connected. So the shifts happening on the outside, they're all merely reflections of what's happening within collectively. So there'll be some interesting things that you might expose about yourself without even knowing or without even trying. And that's not such a bad thing. The idea of nurture. So what is nurture? You know, nurture will be different things to different people. But for me, this is about self-nurture or lack of self-nurture. It's also it's also about not fearing giving to ourselves. Sometimes we Is it that we fear? We feel bad giving to ourselves. We feel like we don't deserve to give to ourselves. We feel like we are not worthy of being given to. The whole idea of validity and self-worth and self-value, all of that is it's coming up for almost like reevaluation. And of course, when things are in your face, it's kind of hard not to see. So there might be some situations in your life that will present themselves to you in order to help you effectively deal with something that has been limiting you for a long time. The card embrace and sustenance, those two came when I asked about what's being left behind. The way we give ourselves to others, which helps us feel the way we do or helps us feel safe, it seems to be changing. Now, why would that be changing? Because we are becoming much more confident in who we are internally. And as a result of that, we become much more independent thinkers. When we think more independently, when we don't depend on others as much, for example, and all that is saying to me is that we are, as a result of that, we are stepping more into our power. So what we are essentially leaving behind is levels of powerlessness, or how we yield or hold back our power. And again, if you look at the world, it's pretty much a reflection. So that is what's being left behind. Not so bad, if you ask me. Anything that has been blocking you from feeling unfulfilled. So first and foremost, what does it mean to be fulfilled for you, right? Because what it means to me may be very different than what it means to you. So what does fulfillment really mean? For me, when I tune into fulfillment, it all I hear is knowledge. I want to know. I feel fulfilled when I can know, when I have the ability to know, to be more, I guess it's constant being able to create. Interesting, I never looked at it that way. Whatever has been standing in the way of you doing that, I feel like we are essentially over time leaving it behind. And how we give to ourselves or how we give to others, for some of you will, and especially blocks around that, for some of you will be about because of some unresolved issues from the past with your mother or someone who was like a mother to you. Okay, so for those of you who have some unresolved feelings around a mother, I wouldn't be surprised if in the month of June something comes up and it'll become visible to you. And because it's going to be visible to you, you will examine it. And then you'll come into some sort of a realization. And once the moment you have that realization, it's like you're detaching. Detachment happens. It's almost like once you understand what your experience is about, there's no longer need for you to do it again. Unless, of course, you want to. But if it's an experience you don't want, then chances are you wanting to release. So if there's any unresolved challenges with a mother figure, some pain, wounds, any codependency around a mother, in the next little while, you might have something come up in order to help you clear it. Okay. Now, each individual sign. The sign of Cancer. You have the 8 of Wands. And 10 of Wands in reverse. So for those of you who are tarot readers, by all means, interpret it in your own way. I suck at tarot reading. I do my own thing. So here's the message that I received for you, Cancer. For those of you whose relationship area has been fairly stagnant, meaning you're in a relationship and it's not working, you're not in a relationship and it's not working, you're trying to get rid of one and it's not working, you get the idea. And relationship doesn't have to be romantic necessarily. It could be a relationship you have with your work, anything that you depend on. If you've had some challenges, especially over the last year or two, where you felt like it was just too much, or you felt overburdened, and as a result of that, you kind of pulled away or gave up. So if you've given up on a good relationship, or you've given up on the idea of a relationship, or even on creating that perfect job, I feel some of you are going to shift out of that. What I feel is happening is that some of you are just feeling really tired, exhausted, and that's the energy that's around us right now. But it's just for some of you, it's to do with finances, so it's probably around work. You're just very, very tired, and whatever the tiredness is, for those of you who understand this message, I feel like you're pulling yourself out of it. Okay. I also hear financial independence. So if you have been financially dependent on someone, which is interesting to get from these cards, if you have been financially dependent on someone, or you have been overly dependent in other ways, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever, I feel you will shift out of it. And I have a feeling it's because of the understanding that you will come into that will help you release. And the moment release an attachment you have, which is more likely than not going to be karmic, your energy is going to shift. It's like you're ready to take off. It's just that whatever this thing is that's holding you back from taking off, and over the next little while, starting in June, I feel many of you will, whatever that is, you'll just release it. You'll just release it. It does not happen just out of the blue. It's work, internal works. A lot of it is subconscious work. It's the energies. It's like the environment, the temperature is perfect for all these things to take place. So as long as you are just focused on your intention and just trying to navigate as best you can, you're going to be fine. Now, Scorpio, you've got 7 of Coins and Ace of Cups. I really like to see this. First and foremost, I see there's a lightness with it. Even though there is a Pentacle card, keep in mind I look at these things differently. There is a certain, there's a feeling of lightness. What I also hear is that there is some inner conflict that is beginning to be resolved. And I just hear it's complicated. So of course our conflicts are always complicated. Well, sometimes they're not, but they're usually can be very complicated. Whatever has been complicating your life, inner conflict, I feel you've put a lot of work and effort into it. For some of you, it is to do with the physical. It could be a relationship or work, but it's more in terms of who you are as a person. And you've invested some time in it. And the best thing is, because of that, there is something new on the horizon. Because of this release of this conflict, there is something new. But that makes perfect sense to me. The moment you release, you are beginning to create a brand new experience. So you can call it a month of endings and new beginnings, because whenever there's an ending, there's a new beginning. For some of you, this may be absolutely financial ending, where your primary source of income is changing, or the way you create in terms of your income is changing, how you create. For some of you, you're looking at your long-term goals in terms of how you would like to bring in more money, and you're making some changes, you're implementing some changes, and or there is an addition of something new. You are implementing something new. There is definitely a brand new beginning here. For some of you, this literally means that you are starting or you will be starting in a very near future something that is completely new and different than what you've done from before. For example, let's say you were let's say you're a banker, and now you're moving into energy healing. So you literally are moving from left to right. And for some of you, this is how you will begin to make your money as a healer, whatever healer means to you. So it feels very, very good. If you already are a healer, I feel that you've invested a lot in yourself, and it's going to start paying dividends. So if you've been on this journey of a healer for quite a while, I feel like over the next few months, there will be possibilities that will be created for you, possibilities will be created for you, because I see them kind of lined up. So your job is just to follow what is true to you. But there's no light. I feel light about this, and that really, really feels good. Is there anything else? You are choosing the operative word, to no longer feel stuck. And I hear stuckness is a choice. I mean, I'm sure I could find an argument against that, but okay. Stuckness is a choice. Yes. Okay. Sure. You're choosing to no longer be stuck or feel stuck. How do you choose not to feel stuck? Accept what is and choose a different experience. Yeah, sometimes actually not sometimes, always, the type of information that comes through, just the way it's coming, it's like, there it is. The truth is right there. It's like, duh. Anyway, so looks like a good month for you, Scorpios. Okay, Pisces. This is a double whammy. You have the 8 of Cups and 6 of Wands in reverse. So this card to me represents right now prosperity, and in reverse it's lack of prosperity, but in terms of thinking and believing. And because we're moving, or essentially unsubscribing from certain belief systems, you are unsubscribing from yours, the one that has you defined as someone who is unsuccessful, whatever success or unsuccess means to you. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where certain things were not for you because you came from a different family. Maybe some things were not for you because in order for you to have this, you have to be this, or that. Any kind of misalignments in terms of responsibility. What are you actually responsible for? And what responsibility you take on your shoulders even though they're not yours. There's going to be some clarity around that. Very interesting. Some of you are choosing to walk away from something that you were responsible for, or for some sort of a responsibility. Some of you are walking away from a relationship that isn't successful, whether it be romantic or work nature, or project, for example. If you're no longer if you're feeling like you're no longer on the same team with a partner, whatever kind of partner, and you can't seem to see it any other way going forward, then I feel many of you will begin to take the exit. So some of you are exiting. Some of you are exiting from very stressful positions. Perhaps this time when we were all inside, gave you a different perspective on your priorities and what it is that's really important to you in life. And as a result of that, you're realizing that the long-term goal doesn't really include what you're doing right now, or at least not the way you do it. So you are starting to implement various strategies for you to exit. That's really interesting. Very interesting. Anything else? What does it mean to be competent? What does it mean to be competent? Because what I heard was, don't try harder, just be competent. I actually have to look up what the competence is. What competent? When I tune into competence, I feel like I can. If someone is competent, I feel like I can trust this person. I feel like I can rely on this person. I feel like this person is going to give me good feedback. I feel like this person is not going to lie to me, but is going to be honest with me, but also will be almost like strategic with the way they express information. And the message is, don't try harder, be a competent person. So I am describing you. I'm assuming that's you, because what they're saying here is, stop trying so hard, just be you. Stop trying so hard, or stop trying, just be you. The you without trying. The you without trying so hard, perhaps. The you that is more than you believe, or what you believe in this moment. All of this is driving us, water, to a higher level of awareness, where ultimately there is a lot more fulfillment. The more you realize who you are, really who you are, not your thoughts, not your beliefs, but beyond that, the more you realize who you are, is the same as you becoming more awake. But the more awake you become, the more you realize it's all just an illusion. Now, as I say this, my logical mind goes, Joanna, well, look, Auden, what's happening? Just turn on TV. So I have two sides to me, obviously. I have the logical human side, and I have this other side of me that's now tapping into this higher consciousness. And I have this awareness, but I have to walk it in this physical 3D. However, with this awareness, it makes it possible for me to walk this 3D world in a different way, from a different perspective, and as a result, creating different experiences. Remember, awareness is everything. Our key to freedom is awareness. It's like taking sunglasses off and all of a sudden you see clearly. It can be jarring at times. I've had moments, I had one yesterday. It's one of those, I don't know what you call them, some people call them downloads, but all of a sudden I became aware of a certain feeling, and all of a sudden I became aware of being beyond the feeling and realizing, oh my God, I am so much more than the feeling. Even though I knew that, I experienced it from an embodied perspective. It was in me. It's very hard to explain. For those of you who haven't experienced that, it's very hard to explain. It's like something just inside of you clicks. You just know. You just know. It's your truth. So, and that's the energies. I hope that's helpful. Feel free to comment. I kind of loved how this flowed. I really did. There's something very beautiful about this energy. It's changing, it's transforming. It can be rough at times, but it's also gentle at the same time. Almost like a mother would be that would love you unconditionally. You know, if you were afraid, she would hold your hand, but she would also show you not to be afraid. And she wouldn't do that by holding you back. she would gently guide you and support you so that you can see for yourself. That is a beautiful ass energy. Very powerful, very feminine, very powerful. Okay, guys, that's all I have for you. I wish you best of luck. Please do comment. I read every single one. If you would like a session with me, of course, that information is down below. And I look forward to seeing you in July, or actually, well, it's going to be one of the other videos, but I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much once again, and take care. Bye-bye.